Hey guys, this is AJ with Everyday Patio. Welcome back, and here's another patio cover video. So today we're going to be doing a little bit different of a video. We're going to show how to build the new louver system that Four Seasons made. They were kind enough to let them in and record like the whole build process of how you would build one of these louvers, which was kind of cool. So we got to hear from some veterans of like the louver trade. So a louver is an opening and closing patio cover. Basically there's a pivot bar and some louver blades that you install on the roof after you build out the frame that open and close. So it's a cool modern looking system. So these guys are just going to show kind of the basics of building this system. Here they build a lot of it on the ground, which I thought was a good technique. So they're going to notch the left and right side of the wrap kit on this one so that you can put the side wrap pieces on later to cover the open edges. That's them notching out the piece. So that's the side wrap on the left and right side. There's going to be a front header against the wall, which would basically be, if you weren't attaching to the house, it'd just be like a front and back header. In this case, we're calling it a ledger because it's attaching to the wall. Those are the 2x6 U-channels that are going to be attaching on each side for you to put your side wrap on. And here's the gutters. So the gutters get notched on the front and back so that you can slide in the side gutter pieces. It's basically a gutter on each side of the frame. So there's 4 sides and there's a gutter on each side of it. Once you've notched out the gutter, you can put it against your ledger. You kind of want to give yourself a slight gap. That's why they're using that cutoff piece against the U-channel so that the gutter fits in snug. They're going to remove that, and that's where the side wrap pieces are going to attach to. You'll see once we go into the showroom. And this is the pivot strips. So those are what the louvers sit into. There's going to be one on the ledger side and one on the header gutter side of the patio cover. So a louver strip on each side that the louvers sit into. And here we're drilling out so we can attach the ledger board to the wall. So this is only if you're attaching to a house, stucco, eaves. If you're freestanding, you don't have to worry about drilling those holes. And these are the posts. So the posts that we're using are 7-inch posts. There's a lot of different layouts you can do with the posts. Some people are putting them inside the wrap and the gutter. Some people are putting them underneath. In this case, we're notching it so that the gutter and wrap kit can sit inside of it, so it's a flush, like inset finish around of it. But some people are insetting them further. It's pretty much customer preference on that one and design. And that's the corner cut taken out. So now the beam and wrap kit are going to be able to rest inside of that. And here's the ledger going up with the pivot strips and the gutter and the U-channels attached at each side. So this is probably the cleanest way you can build this system just because it's done mostly on the ground. You can check your measurements, make sure everything's lined up right. There's a chart for determining how many louvers you have, but basically every 8 inches you can add another louver to your louver strip depending on how wide the patio cover is. So that's pretty much custom on site. As far as the actual length of the louvers, they go up to 12 feet. I'm sure you could go longer, but the way the standard cuts are set are at 12 feet because the pieces come in 16-foot, 20-foot, and 24-foot sections. So you're basically cutting them to half of that minus an inch of your projection so that you have room on each side of the louver to sit inside the pivot strips. So whatever your projection is between the pivot strips, take off about an inch or two on the louvers and then you'll be able to sit inside. Those are the pivot pins that go into the pivot strips. you hammer them in and then you seat in the louver fully, and then you twist it fully back and forth, and you're going to hear it kind of seat into that. There's a little arrow inside of the pivot strip that it just kind of clicks into. Overall, it's a fairly simple system. It's basically post, beam, wrap, gutters, and then pivot strips. I was shocked how simply it actually went together. This was a little bit of a tricky part just because you had to take your time and actually put the washers with a bolt onto every one of these. And that's the link bar. So that's going to attach to the motor, and that's what's going to open and close the louver system. See this being a little bit easier if it was a freestanding cover, because they wouldn't have to get up where the ledger is against the house. And here's the battery, motor, like pretty much the electrical of the whole system. So I tried to give you a diagram right there: solar panel, battery, inverter, switch, and then motor. So that's the basic diagram of how this is working. The battery is powering the switch, which is then powered the motor, so that's what turns it off and on. That's the motor right there on the floor, and it kind of works like a hydraulic press. It's going to go in and out every time it's turned on and off. So the switches are pre-programmed, but you can easily program them or add another switch onto the circuit, or multiple motors too, which for the bigger louver setups. The only thing missing that we didn't bring here was an inverter. I installed that the day after, but basically the inverter lets you pull power from your house. So you pull from your normal 120 AC, like 12 to 14 gauge wire from your house, and that goes into the inverter, and then you run low voltage wire from the inverter into the louver system. You could go straight to the switch, or you could go into the battery to the switch. So you potentially could remove the battery and the solar panel and just run off the inverter, or you can, in some cases I could see you just running off the battery and a solar panel. The proper setup is to use all three: the solar panel, the battery, and then the inverter. There we're just showing the low voltage wire. So when you're running the low voltage wire, there's a ribbed and then a smooth side. You kind of want to have all your positive connections be on the ribbed side, and then the smooth side will be all your negative. And it doesn't matter, it's the same gauge wire on each side, and it's the same type of wire, but just so if you ever have to troubleshoot it later or know what's going on, it's easier to make ribbed side all positive, smooth side all negative. And here we're connecting it to the battery. Useful to bring some of those wire connectors, the eyelet connectors. That line coming out of the back of the battery, that's actually a negative line. So there's technically two negative lines on the battery. The second negative line that's coming off the back, that's what you're going to connect into the motor. There you can see he's using a joiner. And now we're ready to go into the motor, the switch, which is going to lead power into the motor. and that's the motor working. So that's probably the hardest part of the build. The rest of it I think is fairly simple, but this could also be simplified in a couple ways. Like I said, either just running directly from an inverter or just using the solar panel battery setup. And here we're attaching the box to the side of the patio. You could put this just about anywhere. I would, when you're walking out of the house, go out the back door or wherever the patio structure is and just decide on the cleanest spot where it's kind of out of sight. And the motor you're going to put in one of the top corners and screw it to the beam. You can see there it's been screwed to the ledger against the house, which is pretty much the same size. And then you're gonna actually drill a hole into that link bar about 4 to 5 louvers up between the 4th and the 5th louver. You're gonna put a 3/8 hole and you're gonna use that screw area in the motor to run through that 3/8 hole you drilled, kind of like he's doing right there, and that's what's gonna pull the system back and forth so it opens and closes. So pretty simple and good system as far as adding in the electrical after. It's good not having to build it into the system as you're going, so you're able to build the full structure, then add the motor. I thought that was pretty awesome. That's everything open and closing fully. Successful install. You can kind of see it's gutters on all sides, louvers on top. Overall clean design. I like it for some of the more modern builds that we've been kind of going towards. So if you guys want to see more videos like this, please like, comment, subscribe. I want to give a thank you to Four Seasons for letting us film this and turn this into a video. It was a fun project to work on. Everyday Patio out. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your day.